Hi everybody, welcome to 3.2 Compound Statements and Connectives. What I'm going to do to kind of cut down on the video time is I'm going to go through my worked out notes with you, but the expectation is that you pause and copy down the work as we go along to make sure that you're truly understanding what's going on. Okay, so the first part of this section is dealing with compound statements. Okay, so compound statements are statements that are joined by connectives and, or, if then, if and only if. Okay, so if we're looking at this first example here, all right, this compound statement, if you're wealthy or well-educated, then you'll be happy. So what we want to do is we want to be able to break this apart. Okay, so compound statements are broken apart by these words or phrases up here. Okay, so I see an if portion, you're wealthy. All right, this P should say you're wealthy, not healthy. I apologize about that. Or you're well educated. So there's my next simple sentence, and I call that Q. I see another break-off point, then you'll be happy. So since I have another one, I'll just call it R. And then that will be our third simple statement. Okay. Typically, P's, Q's, and R's are what we're going to be using in this chapter. Okay. If we have more statements, we'll keep going. All right. The next compound statement is a conjunction. So a conjunction is a compound statement formed by connecting statements with the word and, okay? And the symbol that we're going to use for and is this, looks like an A, but without that crossbar, okay? So that is our symbol for the conjunction and. So let's take a look at this example number 2. If we're going to let P be it is hot outside, and Q be the simple statement everyone is at the pool. Okay, so now we're going to use symbols to write each compound statement below. All right, so we're going to be using P's and Q's. Okay, so if we zoom in here, all right, looking at part A, it is hot outside. So I noticed and I underlined, hey, that's our P simple statement, so I labeled it. I see this conjunction and they are at the pool. So I see P, this and gives us this, looks like an A without our crossbar, and we have a Q. So our final answer is P and Q. That's how we read it. Okay? This second statement, if we take a look, it is hot outside. Again, that's our P. I see the word and, so we use our symbol for that conjunction. They are not at the pool. What symbol do we use for not? Well, when we see the word not, or whatever the opposite of a certain statement is, we have that little tilde kind of squiggly line there. That means not. Okay, so our final statement would be P and not Q. So it's taking a sentence, a compound statement, breaking it up in terms of its symbols. This table here just shows different ways that these symbols could be written in English. Okay, so if these are our simple statements, it is after 5 p.m., they are working. So if I have P and Q, we could read it as P but Q. So it is after 5 p.m., but they are working. Or we can read it as P yet Q. It is after 5 p.m., yet they are working. And we could read it as P nevertheless Q. It is after 5 p.m., nevertheless they are working. So these are all just different ways to write that conjunction statement, P and Q. All right, so if you ever come across these sayings, we're going to use that conjunction and. The next type of compound statement uses the word or, okay? And it's an inclusive statement this time, and it means either or both. So what we're going to look at is this or, P or Q is how we would say that, and our symbol looks like that V, okay? And P or Q means P or Q or both P and Q. So you'll get some examples here. So let's look at the statement right here. I ate pizza or salad. And we could say I ate pizza or salad or both. Okay? So that's the inclusive way to go through it. All right, let's look at this next example 3. Let P and Q represent the following simple statements. So again, P is you graduate, Q is you satisfy the math requirement. All right, so now let's use symbols. Okay, so we are going to just zoom in a little bit. All right, so I'm looking here. I see you graduate, so I know that that's our P. I see the word or, so now I'm going to use that V symbol. And I see you satisfy the math requirement, which is our Q symbol. So putting it all together, we have P or Q. Looking at this next example, you satisfy the math requirement. Well, that is our Q simple statement. I see the word or, so we're using that V symbol. I now see you do not graduate, so we need that not symbol in there. And you graduate is our P, so this is going to be that not P. Putting it all together, we have Q or not P. The next type of statements we're going to look at is called a conditional statement. Okay, a conditional statement is this right here. P implies Q, or we might read it as if P, then Q. Okay, we'll get to that biconditional statement in just a second. So again, conditional statement is P implies Q, or simply if P, then Q. So if we look at this statement here, all teachers are awesome. We can rewrite it as there are no teachers who are not awesome. Those are equivalent, and we'll get into how we can say it in an if-then way. So let's use the if-then for this next example. Okay, so again, we go back to our P and Q for our simple statements. So P is a person is a sister. Q, a person is female. Now we want to write this compound statement with our symbols. Okay, so the first thing I notice is I've got an if and I have a then. Okay, now I need to break up this saying. Okay, so the first thing I see is a person is a sister. So if a person is a sister, so that's our P simple statement. So if then that person is a female. There is our Q simple statement. Since I see this if P, then Q, the order is very important. So P was first, so that means P, and I use my arrow, that means implies Q, or simply if P, then Q. If we take a look at the next example, again, I see an if-then statement. So I'm thinking that arrow symbol. First thing, if a person is a female, that's our Q simple statement. Then that person is a sister. That's our P simple statement. So again, notice the order. Order is important, okay? This time, it's going to be, since Q is first, Q gets listed. Q implies P. If Q, then P. Our C example here. Again, I see the if, I see the then, and now we break it up. If a person is not a female, so that's the negation of Q, all right, so that not Q, then that person is not a sister. So again, we have the negation of P. Order is still important. So Q came first. So we have not Q implies not P. I quickly scrolled back up to the top of the page talking about our next statement, which is a biconditional statement. So the symbol for a biconditional statement is now that double arrow. And so we would say P if and only if Q. So sometimes you might see that written with an IFF. That means if and only if. I'm going to scroll back down to the bottom of the page now. Okay, again, biconditional statement is a compound statement that uses the words if and only if, which simply is looking like this right here. It's that double arrow. So now if we just go through a couple examples, again, P is our simple statement, the word is run. Q is the word has 396 meanings. All right, so now we want to take our statement and we want to put it into symbols. So I first see if and only if, right? So the word has 396 meanings. That's our Q simple statement. If and only if, so that's going to help me with my symbol. The word is run. That's our P. So I see this if and only if. That means it's our double arrow. Okay? And Q is listed first, so I would just say Q if and only if P. That's how we would read that statement. For this next example, the word is not run, so that's our not P. I see if and only if, so again, I'm thinking of this double arrow. And then we see our next statement, the word does not have 396 meanings. That is our not Q, that's the negation of Q. And so our final answer, not P, if and only if, not Q. This table down here is just kind of putting all of our statements together thus far. All right, so if we have a negation, the symbol that goes in front of P would simply be that not P. It is not true that P. Conjunction, this is the and or but, P and Q, P but Q, and that is the symbol that looks like an A without the crossbar. The disjunction, P or Q, that's our or, and that's going to be the symbol that looks like a V. Our conditional statement is the if-then, so that's P implies Q, P is sufficient for Q, P is necessary for Q, etc. Or Q is necessary for P, sorry. And then we have our biconditional, that's our if and only if, that's our double arrow. So familiarize yourself, make sure you know all of those symbols. This next section deals with grouping of the symbols, okay? Or statements, I should say. So parentheses are going to be huge. So what we're going to be able to do is we need to tell which statements should be grouped together in the symbolic statements. That's what parentheses help us determine. And commas also help us determine where groupings are. Okay, so for our first example, notice we have parentheses around the P and the Q, and that negation, that not symbol, is out front, okay? It means this entire statement is being negated, all right? So that's kind of key here. So let's look at our simple statements. P, he is healthy. Q, he is happy. We want to do not, in parentheses, P and Q. So we take care of this by saying it is not true, and now we take care of this whole thing. He is healthy and happy, okay? It is not true, he is healthy and happy. That's our symbol there, okay? Versus in part B, we should note that there is no parentheses here, okay? So what does that look like? We kind of group it just like we did before. He is not happy and he is wealthy. So you're not negating that entire statement. You're just negating the fact that he is happy. Okay? let's see how parentheses work in this next example. P is our simple statement, the plant is fertilized. Q, the plant is not watered. And R, the plant wilts. So we want to write the following in words now. So now we're going to go backwards, all right? So we have P and not Q. That is grouped together. What does that arrow represent? That's telling us implies or if then, not R. Okay, so since we have that if then statement, if, and then we're going to put this entire statement, and then we will have the word then, and we will take care of this not R portion. So we have if P, the plant is fertilized. We have the and symbol. Now it's not Q. Okay, so Q is the plant is not watered, so not Q is the plant is watered. So if the plant is fertilized and watered, now we've got the then, the plant will not wilt. That's our not R right there. If we take a look at example B, notice where the parentheses are this time. Okay, so that is going to be grouped together. I have this and here breaking it apart. Okay, so how does this work? Well, we start with P, the plant is fertilized. I have that and now here comes my if then portion. And if it is watered, so that's our not Q, then it will not wilt. That's our not R. The very last thing we need to talk about is the dominance of these connectives. Which one takes precedence over the other? Okay, so which symbol is the most important is what we're going to talk about. So right here, the symbols can be ranked in order of power of strength. Here is the list of least dominant to the most dominant. So least dominant is this negation. Then we have the conjunction or the disjunction. Then we have our conditional, and the most dominant, the one that takes most precedence, is this biconditional. Okay? So one thing I want you to note is if a statement appears without parentheses, statements before and after the most dominant connective should be grouped together. Okay? So let's see how this works here. So if we take a look at our last example 8, here are our simple statements. I fail the course, I study hard, I pass the final. All right, so we want to write each statement using symbols. Okay, so I see I do not fail the course if and only if I study hard and I pass the final. Okay, so what is the most dominant here? Okay, what is the most dominant? And what we should notice is it's this if and only if. Remember, that's our biconditional. If and only if. Okay, so that's the most dominant right there. So I'm going to put my symbol right in the middle there. That is my break-off point. Okay, I group it from there afterwards. So everything before that gets grouped and everything get after that gets grouped together. Okay, so I see I do not fail the course. That's our not P. We have the if and only if. That's the most dominant. I study hard and I pass the final. So think about where parentheses might go. Okay, hopefully you notice that we're going to group this statement after our most dominant statement there. So our final answer in terms of symbols is going to be not P, if and only if, and now I'm going to use parentheses, Q and R. And we put parentheses around the Q and R. Finally, our last example. I do not fail the course if and only if I study hard, notice the comma, and I pass the final. Okay, So where are parentheses going to be placed? Hopefully we see that if and only if, so we know we have our symbol of those double arrows, okay? That comma also indicates a grouping, okay? So what that means is I have a grouping here. That comma tells me that's the end of the grouping. I see that and statement, so what's our symbol for and? It's that A without the crossbar, and then I pass the final, which is our R. So our final answer is parentheses, not P, if and only if Q, and R. If you have questions, bring them to class next time we see each other. Have a good day.